So hi guys, welcome back to our channel Legal Lift, Lifting Legal Spirits. This is your third video for legal reasoning, particularly tort law. And before starting off the session, I would like to just say that you must have noticed that the video of legal reasoning are much longer than the videos of other subjects, but that is just because the syllabus of legal reasoning is larger comparatively to other subjects. So we just want to first complete the conceptual based things for all of you so that you all can start with practice based question and focus more on that. So yeah, starting off, in the previous video we discussed about the mental elements. So one mental element was missed out, and that is motive, which I'll be explaining here. So motive is something which is not essential while deciding the liability of the accused. Okay, but still it's an important mental element whose legal reasoning you should be knowing for better understanding. So yeah, motive is defined as ulterior intention. If we say that A has intentionally shot at and killed B, the next question would be, why did A intend to kill B? In other words, what was the reason behind A's intention to kill B? It may be because A was the legal heir of B and wanted to inherit the property quickly by killing B. So here what the example says is, if अगर A ने intentionally B को शॉट किया और उसको मारा, सो आर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वुड बी कि ए ने बी को क्यों मारा, उसका रीज़न क्या था उसको मारने के पीछे. सो बहुत सारे रीजंस हो सकते हैं. जैसे एक रीज़न हो सकता है कि ए बी का लीगल हायर है, सो आफ्टर डेथ ऑफ बी ए विल इनहेरिट ऑल द प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ बी. सो जल्दी से इनहेरिट करने के लिए प्रॉपर्टी ही किल्ड बी. One of the reason is this, and so here the motive is inheriting the property of B. Here the motive of A for killing B is inheriting that he wanted to inherit the property of B. So motive is almost always irrelevant in the English law of tort. A man's reason for doing an act do not make a lawful act unlawful, nor vice versa. So as I explained earlier, motive एक अक्यूज पर्सन की लाइबिलिटी डिफाइन करने में it's completely irrelevant. If a person A has committed a tort, so उसने किस मोटिव से वो tort किया है ये उसकी liability decide नहीं करता. It is not of importance of significance in deciding his liability. So अगर एक person ने एक lawful act unlawful method से किया है, unlawful motive से किया है, so that act remains lawful even if he has done with an unlawful motive, and vice versa, that if he has done an unlawful act with a lawful motive, अगर उसने एक unlawful act किसी lawful motive के साथ किया है तो भी वो act unlawful ही रहता है. So that what this statement means. Defenses against tortious liability. Under certain conditions, an act ceases to be wrongful, although in absence of those conditions, the same act would amount to be a wrong. So ऐसे कभी कभी कुछ ऐसे कंडीशंस होते हैं जहाँ पे एक एक्ट जो नॉर्मल सर्कमस्टेंसेस में रॉन्ग होते बट उस कंडीशन के होने की वजह से रॉन्ग नहीं होते. ऐसे कुछ कंडीशंस होते हैं जो एक रॉन्गफुल एक्ट को एक्सक्यूज कर देते हैं, जस्टिफाई कर देते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ दोज सर्टेन कंडीशंस. अंडर सच कंडीशन द एक्ट इज सेड टू बी जस्टिफाइड और एक्सक्यूज. तो ऐसे कंडीशन जब आते हैं तो वो रॉन्गफुल एक्ट भी जस्टिफाइड माने जाते हैं. वो कंडीशंस आप आगे पढ़ोगे. So these conditions which excuse or justify an act which would otherwise have been a tort may be divided into two categories. So ऐसे conditions, ऐसे excuses और defenses, जो ऐसे acts जो wrongful act को justify करते हैं, they can be divided into two categories. So first, those conditions which excuse or justify some specific tort but do not excuse or justify torts generally. For example, truth and fair comment are defenses available for the tort of defamation only. So ऐसे कुछ कंडीशन, ऐसे कुछ एक्सक्यूज होते हैं जो सिर्फ एक स्पेसिफिक टॉर्ट को जस्टिफाई करते हैं और सारे टॉर्ट्स को जस्टिफाई नहीं कर सकते. जैसे कि for example, truth and fair comment. The tort of defamation. What is tort of defamation? Tort of defamation is when you have said insulting or irrespectful words or things about about a person, so you have committed a tort of defamation. If I, being a person A, has said some disrespectful or insulting words or insulting things about a person B, so I have committed the tort of defamation. तो यहाँ पे एक एक्सक्यूज़ ये हो सकता है, एक डिफेंस मेरा ये हो सकता है कि मैंने जो कहा वो ट्रुथ है और एक फेयर कमेंट है बी के एक्ट्स के ऊपर. सो ये एक so this is a defense which I can use against the other person. Okay, so now second, those conditions which are applicable to all torts equally. For example, defense of consent can excuse any tort. So second, ऐसे conditions होते हैं, ऐसे excuses होते हैं जो एप्लीकेबल है अगेंस्ट ऑल द टॉर्ट्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, डिफेंस ऑफ कंसेंट. सो अगर कोई भी टॉर्ट, इफ आई हैव कमिटेड एनी टॉर्ट बट मैंने अगर वो टॉर्ट पर्सन बी के कंसेंट के साथ किया है, सो आई एम नॉट लायबल फॉर द टॉर्ट. ओके, सो दिस इज एन एक्सक्यूज. द डिफेंस ऑफ कंसेंट इज एन एक्सक्यूज अगेंस्ट ऑल द टॉर्ट्स. General exceptions. So moving on, a defense is a ground on which the defendant seeks to avoid or reduce his liability. So this is a general meaning of defense. Defense is something जो यूज करके डिफेंडेंट अपनी लायबिलिटी को रिड्यूस या ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करता है. Okay, so defenses in cases of torts may be general defense are the defenses which can be used against any tort. It does not depend upon the nature of tort, but special defenses depends upon the nature of torts and can be applicable against some specific torts only. So this is what this point means. Now we'll be covering the general exceptions in detail. The first one is consent or leave and license, voluntary non-fit injuria. This is a legal maxim which I'll be explaining. The second one is act of God. Third, inevitable accident. Fourth, necessity. Then private defense, statutory authority, plaintiff, the wrongdoer. So moving on to first one. Moving on to voluntary non-fit injuria. What this legal maxim means that if a person who knowingly and voluntarily risks danger cannot recover for any resulting injury. So अगर किसी पर्सन ने जानते हुए और अपनी मर्जी से अपने आप को ऐसी रिस्क या डेंजर में डाला है जिसकी वजह से उसे इंजरी हो रही है, तो उसे कोई राइट नहीं है कॉम्पेंसेशन मिलने का. सो दिस इज़ अ डिफेंस विच अ डिफेंडेंट कैन यूज़ कि प्लेंटिफ ने खुद को ऐसे डेंजर में डाला है जिसकी वजह से उसको इंजरी सफ़र हुई है. मतलब एक तरह से प्लेंटिफ ने कंसेंट. दिस इज अ डिफेंस विच कैन बी यूज बाय द डिफेंडेंट अगेंस्ट प्लेंटिफ दैट द प्लेंटिफ हैज हिमसेल्फ गिवन द कंसेंट एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट ही हैज सफर्ड इंजरी. सो द कंसेंट में बी ईदर एक्सप्रेस और इम्प्लाइड. वट एक्सप्रेस कंसेंट मीन्स कि आपने बोल के येस और नो में अपना अग्रीमेंट या डिसएग्रीमेंट दिखाया हो, बोल के या थ्रू साइंस ऑल्सो. बट वट इम्प्लाइड कंसेंट मीन्स इज कि मेरे एक्शन से it is understood that I have given a consent. For example, if a person A has gone to watch a cricket match in a stadium, तो उसका एक implied consent assume किया जा सकता है कि अगर वो स्टेडियम में बैठ के मैच देख रहा है तो उसको बॉल से चोट लग सकती है. सो उसने वो रिस्क फेस करने के लिए एक इम्प्लाइड कंसेंट दिया. तो अगर So if a spectator gets hit by a ball, he cannot bring an action against the authorities because he has voluntarily exposed himself to such risk. Here he has given an implied consent while being a spectator to the match in a stadium. Similarly, if a football player is playing a match and he gets injured, he breaks his leg while playing. So here also he cannot bring an action against the fellow player because of whom he has suffered the injury, because he has again voluntarily exposed himself to such risk by playing football. He has given an implied consent by playing football. So yeah, this is what express and implied consent means. So moving on, knowledge does not necessarily imply assent. What this means is सिर्फ रिस्क का नॉलेज होना does not express my consent to face that risk. This legal maxim, scienti non fit injuria, expresses the same meaning. So what this means is सिर्फ इसका knowledge होना that I can be injured while doing this act does not expresses my consent that I'm ready to face this risk. For example, this is a landmark case, Smith versus Baker. So example of this can be Smith versus Baker case. So यहाँ पे क्या था, there was a place where the work of breaking of rocks were going on. So the rocks were being transferred from one place to another from using a crane, and the laborers were working on the ground. So the laborers had the knowledge that they have the risk of getting injured from the rocks जो कि crane से गिर सकते हैं, but still they continued to work. And when one of the laborers got injured by the rocks, he sued his employer. So the decision was that the employer was liable. Why? Because although laborer knew about the risk, he did not give consent to get injured through it, because वो accident जो हुआ वो because of it happened because of the negligence of the employer. Although the laborer had the knowledge कि उसको इस चीज़ का रिस्क है, बट फिर भी अगर वो इंजरी एम्प्लॉयर की नेग्लिजेंस की वजह से हो रही है, then employer will be liable. So only the knowledge of the risk does not imply his consent to get injured by it. That's it. And so there are some conditions where this defense can be used. The first one is consent must be given freely. To bring the defense under the head of voluntary non-fit injuria, it is necessary to show that the plaintiff's consent to the act done by the defendant was free, and if the consent of the plaintiff has been obtained by fraud, misrepresentation or under the pressure of his or master, such consent does not serve as a good defense. Such consent does not serve as a good defense. So ये जो consent की बात हो रही है, this must be free and this should not be obtained by fraud, misrepresentation. ये सब words you will get to know about it more in further classes. And specifically means that the consent must be given freely and not under any fraud, misrepresentation or under pressure of his or master or someone else. And the next essential thing is standard of care. There also exists a duty of care on the part of defendant towards the plaintiff. Example, spectators in the stadium. For example, if a person is watching a cricket match in a stadium, so यहाँ organizers की भी एक certain duty of care है कि वो so यहाँ organizers की भी so here organizers also have a certain level of standard of care where they should ensure that the injury is not due to their negligence. If the roof of the stadium is weak and if that fails and injures a spectator, then the organizers will be responsible because the spectator has not given consent to get injured due to the negligence of organizers. He may get injured during the match by a ball, but if a roof fails and injures the spectator, then the organizers are liable. So there's a certain standard of care which the defendant has to follow for exercising this defense, and if he hasn't, then he cannot take the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria. There are certain exceptions where this defense cannot be used. The first one is employment relations. An employee who complained of unsafe practice but nevertheless continued to work could not truly be said to have voluntarily agreed to waive their legal rights. So, for example, एक employee कहीं काम कर रहा है and he knows that there is a risk in work, but he still continues to do that work due to the pressure of his master. मतलब वो अपने मास्टर के प्रेशर में आके, और क्योंकि उसे ज़रूरत है काम की, इस प्रेशर में आके अगर वो वो काम फिर भी कंटिन्यू करता है, देन हिज कंसेंट कैन नॉट बी सेड टू बी अ फ्री कंसेंट. ही हैज़ नॉट वॉलेंटरली अग्रीड. वो अपनी मर्जी से वो काम करने के लिए अग्री नहीं कर रहा है. Because of the pressure or because of certain conditions, he has agreed to do that work. And in that conditions, if the employee get injured, then the employer cannot use voluntary non-fit injuria, because here the consent was not free. The other one is rescue cases. This is a very landmark case, Hens versus Harwood. The defendant negligently left his horses unattended in a crowded street. A boy threw a stone at them and they ran helter-skelter. The plaintiff constable on duty, perceiving the danger to the lives of person, ran out and stopped the horses but was seriously injured. यहाँ पे the defendant negligently left his horse unattended on a crowded street. The defense of voluntary non-fit injuria cannot be used in rescue cases. यहाँ पे ऑल्दो कांस्टेबल ने यहाँ खुद से वॉलेंटरली अपने आप को रिस्क में डाला, डेंजर में डाला, बट स्टिल द डिफेंडेंट कैन नॉट यूज द डिफेंस ऑफ वॉलेंटरी नॉन फिट इंजुरिया बिकॉज दिस इज़ अ रेस्क्यू केस. यहाँ पे कांस्टेबल ने दूसरों को बचाने के लिए, दूसरों को रेस्क्यू करने के लिए अपने आप को डेंजर और रिस्क में डाला. सो दिस defense cannot be used in such cases where a person has put himself into danger to rescue some other people. The other exception is drunk drivers. A person accepting a lift from a drunk driver was not to be treated as violence unless the drunkenness was so extreme and so glaring that accepting a lift would be equivalent of to intermeddling with an unexploded bomb, or walking on the edge of an unfenced cliff. So, suppose it happens many times that we take a lift on road where we do not have any option. So, अगर आपने suppose a person A took a lift from person B, who is a truck driver, who's driving a truck at that time, and maybe the truck driver B is a little bit drunk, but unless इतना परसीव नहीं होता बी को, इतना उसको फोर्सी नहीं होता कि बी के साथ ट्रैवल करने से उसकी लाइफ डेंजर में आ सकती है, तब तक ये डिफेंस वॉलेंटरी नॉन फिट इंजूरिया कैन नॉट बी यूज. मीन्स अगर ए इंजर हो जाता है उस जर्नी में बिकॉज ऑफ बी, सो बी कैन नॉट यूज दिस डिफेंस वॉलेंटरी नॉन फिट इंजूरिया because so we cannot use this defense voluntary non-fit injuria unless the case is so extreme that he could have easily foreseen that B के साथ ट्रैवल करने से उसकी लाइफ डेंजर में आ सकती है. So there's a important landmark case, Dan versus Hamilton. The plaintiff was injured when she was a willing passenger in the car. The plaintiff was injured when she was a willing passenger in the car driven by Mr. Hamilton. He had been drinking and the car was involved in a serious crash which killed him. In her claim for damages, the defendant raised a defense of voluntary non-fit injuria in that, accepting the lift knowing of his drunken condition, she had voluntarily accepted the risk. The defense was rejected and the plaintiff was held to be entitled to damages. So, the same thing, यहाँ पे plaintiff ने डिफेंडेंट से लिफ्ट ली नोइंग दैट ही इज ड्रंक, बट इतना एक्सट्रीम ड्रंक नहीं था वो कि उसको फोर्सी हो जाए कि उसके साथ ट्रैवल करने में, मिस्टर हैमिल्टन के साथ ट्रैवल करने में देयर इज अ डेंजर टू हिज लाइफ. सो हियर द डिफेंडेंट was rejected to use the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria. Moving on to second defense, act of God. This defense arises when the damage is caused by natural cause like exceptionally heavy storms, rainfall, volcanic eruptions, earthquake, etc., which is without any human intervention. So simply the defense of act of God तभी arise होता है जब damage बहुत ही exceptionally heavy natural phenomenon की वजह से होता है, लाइक बहुत हैवी स्टॉर्म, बहुत हैवी रेनफॉल, वॉल्केनिक एरप्शन जो आज तक हुआ ही नहीं, जिसको परसीव ही नहीं किया जा सकता, जिसके बाद तो अगर ऐसे नेचुरल फेनोमेन से कोई सो अगर ऐसे नेचुरल फेनोमेन से कोई डैमेज कॉज होता है जिसमें कोई ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन नहीं है, सो द डिफेंस ऑफ एक्ट ऑफ गॉड कैन बी यूज्ड. The natural cause must be extraordinary in nature, which no one could have anticipated and reasonably guarded against. That natural phenomenon should be of such an extraordinary nature जिसको किसी ने एंटिसिपेट, किसी ने फोर्स ही नहीं किया हो, और उसके लिए कोई रीजनेबल गार्ड भी ना लिया जा सकता हो, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट फोर्सिएबल. वी कैन नॉट हैव अ रीजनेबल guard against it. There's a case, Indian case Maninder Mukherjee versus Mathura Chaturvedi. So what happened in this case is the defendant का एक फिल्म बैनर था जो प्लेंटिफ के घर के ऊपर था, मतलब वो पोल पे था, बट that pole was over the roof of the plaintiff's house. So during a heavy rainfall or storm, the banner fell down and the plaintiff suffered injuries, and he sued the defendant. So here the decision was that the defendant is not liable because it's an act of God. रेनफॉल इतना हेवी, इतना एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी नेचर का था जिसके अगेंस्ट कोई रीजनेबल गार्ड, कोई रीजनेबल जिसके अगेंस्ट कोई रीजनेबल प्रोटेक्शन ना लिया जा सके, एंड इट वाज एंटिसिपेटेड, और जिसको एंटिसिपेट भी नहीं किया जा सकता. So now moving on to third defense, inevitable accident. This refers to an unforeseeable event or circumstances that causes harm or damage. It essentially means that the incident was unavoidable and not due to anyone's fault or negligence. So this is somewhat similar to act of God, but the difference is एक्ट ऑफ गॉड में एक नेचुरल फेनोमेन इन्वॉल्व होता है, बट इनएविटेबल एक्सीडेंट में नेचुरल फेनोमेन का इन्वॉल्व होना ज़रूरी नहीं है. सेम कि एक अनफोर्सिबल इवेंट होता है जिसकी वजह से हार्म या डैमेज कॉज होता है, और वो अनफोर्सिबल इवेंट कैन नॉट बी एंटिसिपेटेड बाय एनीवन, और वो किसी ह्यूमन फॉल्ट के या नेग्लिजेंस की वजह से नहीं होता है. सो दैट इज़ एन इनएविटेबल एक्सीडेंट, जिसको रोका नहीं जा सकता, जिसको फोर्स ही नहीं किया जा सकता, और जो किसी ह्यूमन के फॉल्ट या नेग्लिजेंस की वजह से अकर नहीं हुआ है. द इंसिडेंट अकर्स डिस्पाइट रीजनेबल केयर एंड प्रिकॉशंस टेकन बाई ऑल पार्टीज इन्वॉल्व. सो जो भी पार्टीज इन्वॉल्व है उनके पूरे रीजनेबल केयर एंड प्रिकॉशंस लेने के बाद भी अगर वो इंसिडेंट cause होता है, then it is called then such incidents are called inevitable accidents. Example, imagine driving on a road when suddenly a tree falls due to severe storm, damaging your car. This would likely be considered an inevitable accident because the falling tree was unexpected and not caused by anyone's actions or negligence. So यहाँ पे natural phenomenon, although here also I have used an example of natural phenomenon, बट ये नेचुरल फेनोमेन ज़रूरी नहीं है कि एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी नेचर का हो. अगर एक कोई एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी नेचुरल फेनोमेन अकर नहीं हुआ है, इट वाज अ स्टॉर्म, रेनफॉल या जो भी, उसकी वजह से अ ट्री फेल डाउन ऑन द कार, यहाँ पे किसी का फॉल्ट या किसी का नेग्लिजेंस नहीं है. इट वाज एन इनएविटेबल एक्सीडेंट एंड इट डज नॉट कम्स अंडर एक्ट of God because it was not, the natural phenomenon was not of extraordinary nature. So that is the difference between inevitable accident and act of God. In tort law, if an accident is deemed inevitable, it means that no one can be held legally responsible or liable for the resulting harm or damage because it was caused by circumstances beyond anyone's control. I've already explained this one. This defense is not applicable in cases of absolute or strict liability unless it assumes the form of an act of God. So absolute and strict liability is what I will explain in next further videos. So then you will get to know what this point means. So the same thing, अगर कोई inevitable accident होता है तो no person is legally responsible or liable for the harm which is caused due to that accident. The next defense is necessity. Necessity induces a privilege because of a private right. The act may be necessary to exercise authority given by law to avoid a greater harm in the larger interest of public. So necessity, what privilege means? Privilege means an advantage. Okay, so necessity आपको एक advantage देता है कि अगर मे बी आपने एक wrongful act किया है, बट अगर किसी अपने necessary circumstances के अंदर किया है जिसके अंदर it was not possible that you don't do that wrongful act, then you can use that it as a defense. When you have to do that act because you have been authorized by law to do it, or when you do that act to prevent a greater harm, or when you do it for larger interest of public. This is intentional damage to prevent even greater destruction or in defense of real. So यहाँ पे आपने वो एक्ट इंटेंशनली किया, बट क्यों किया? एक ग्रेटर हार्म को रोकने के लिए किया. सो दिस कैन बी यूज एज अ डिफेंस कि आपने एक ग्रेटर हार्म को रोकने के लिए एक wrongful act कमिट किया. It was necessary to do it. Example 1, arresting and restricting the movement of drunken person who is likely to cause danger to the people at large can successfully plead necessity as a defense. So if I have seen a person who is drunk and I can see that he is so intoxicated that he may injure other persons, my family, my parents or any my relative. So अगर मैं उस drunken person को रोक रही हूँ, then I am committing a tort by restricting his passage, but then I am doing it to prevent a greater harm, which is he can injure my family members, which is he can injure any other person. So to prevent a greater harm, I am stopping him and committing a tort because it's necessary to do in that situation. However, one who puts live electric wires on his land to stop the trespassers cannot successfully avail his defense if he does not give notice warning of such a dangerous thing. बट अगर आपने अपने लैंड को ट्रेसपासर से प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए अपने लैंड पे इलेक्ट्रिक वायर्स लगाए हैं, देन यू कैन नॉट अवेल दिस डिफेंस ऑफ necessity because there were other ways in which you could have protected your land. और बिना नोटिस और वार्निंग के you can't do such dangerous act which harm other person. So here you can't use the defense of necessity because it was not necessary to commit this wrongful act. There were other ways in which you could have protected your land. Moving on to next defense, private defense. No action is maintainable for damage done in the exercise of one's right of private defense of a person or property, provided that the force employed for the purpose is not out of proportion to the harm apprehended. So अगर आपने अपने प्राइवेट डिफेंस अपने प्राइवेट डिफेंस अपने प्रॉपर्टी के प्राइवेट डिफेंस या किसी और के भी लाइक ऑफ योर फैमिली मेम्बर्स, रिलेटिव्स, फ्रेंड्स और एनी अदर पर्सन के डिफेंस के लिए अगर आपने किसी को डैमेज या इंजरी कॉज की है, सो दैट कैन बी यूज एज अ डिफेंस to reduce or avoid your liability. To avoid liability. बट वो जो आपने डैमेज कॉज किया है वो प्रोपोर्शनेट होना चाहिए उस हार्म से जो आपको होने वाला था. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर किसी someone has pushed you, so you can't you can't injure him with a knife. This is not a proportionate defense. अगर किसी ने आपको धक्का मारा तो आप उसको नाइफ से नहीं मार सकते बिकॉज ये एक प्रोपोर्शनेट डिफेंस नहीं है. अगर उसने आपको धक्का मारा है तो मे बी यू डू समथिंग, मे बी यू स्टॉप, maybe you hold his hand to protect yourself. That can be a private defense. So two conditions are there for you to exercise private defense. The first one is you can do it for protecting your property, yourself, your family members or any other person, and the second one is The act done by you should be proportionate to the harm which is apprehended. And what may be lawfully done for oneself in this regard may likewise be done for a wife, husband. Okay, the same point has been explained कि आप अपने आप को या अपने पेरेंट, चाइल्ड, मास्टर, सर्वेंट या किसी और पर्सन को बचाने के लिए you can use this defense. But the force employed must not be out of proportion to the apparent urgency of the occasion. Thus, it is not justifiable to use a deadly weapon to repel a push or blow with the hand. Explained. This has been explained already. Honest and reasonable belief of immediate danger is the test. Indian Penal Code extends the benefit of this defense even in case of causing death in certain circumstances. कुछ ऐसे ग्रेटर हार्म होते हैं जिसमें अगर आप प्राइवेट डिफेंस में दूसरे की डेथ भी कॉज कर दो, देन ऑल्सो यू कैन यूज दिस एक्सेप्शन ऑफ प्राइवेट डिफेंस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ अगर दूसरा इंसान आपका मर्डर करने आ रहा है और आपने प्राइवेट डिफेंस में पहले उसका मर्डर कर दिया, सो यू कैन यूज दिस डिफेंस ऑफ प्राइवेट डिफेंस. बट एक ऑनेस्ट और रीजनेबल बिलीफ होना चाहिए कि आपको डेंजर है. यू शुड नॉट बी डिल्यूजनल और इल्यूजनल अबाउट इट कि मुझे इससे डेंजर है. एंड this will get too much for one video, and in the next video we'll also practice passage based questions and principal facts question too. Thank you.